So hello everyone. We are the Week 15 reporters. Our topic is teaching and learning process, assessment of learning outcomes. Learning outcomes of this lesson inspect the curriculum guide and how it matches to the instruction and learning processes and the assessment of its learning outcomes. Concept Digest. These standards focus on critical elements that promote effective teaching and learning, including curricula, training, professional development and support, instruction and learning processes, and assessment of learning outcomes. So there are four teaching and learning domains. So first is the standard one, curricula. Standard two, training, professional development and support, which is reported by the week 14 reporters. So the focus of our topic is the standard three, instruction and learning processes, and standard four, assessment of learning outcomes. Standard 3. Instruction and learning processes. Instruction and learning processes are learner-centered, participatory, and inclusive. So it shows on how the teacher should utilize strategies and methods of teaching to facilitate learnings. So the teacher needs to utilize strategies that are appropriate to the age of the learners as well as the needs and interests of the learners for them to actively engage with the lessons. So, since learner-centered approach ang gina-implement sa classroom, so the teacher should make sure that the students are actively participating in the classroom discussions. So, for example, the teacher is having a lesson proper, and while she is or he is discussing, she also asks students questions, and the students will answer based on their prior knowledge and experiences regarding with the lessons. So it is also participatory and inclusive. So anyone can freely to participate with the class discussions. So if the objectives are acquired by the students and also the assessment has a high understanding, so it means that the strategy that utilized by the teacher are effective for the students, and also the teacher is also effective facilitator of learnings.
So first is active engagement. Learners' active engagement is important at every developmental and age level. Teaching should be interactive and participatory, ensuring that all learners are involved in the lesson. It makes use of developmentally appropriate teaching and learning methods. This may involve group work, project work, peer education, role play, telling stories, or describing events, games, videos, or stories. So, for example, you will give them an activity. For example, activity is uh, creating arranging the puzzle. So you can group them into three and give them a specific illustration of the puzzle, and they will be going to, after that, if they're done, they will be by group, they will be going to present that in front of the class. Then ilang explain kung unsay ilang nakita sa illustration nga ilahang na arrange nga puzzle. So these methods should be incorporated into teaching, training, school textbooks, and training programs. Existing curricula may need to be adapted to accommodate active learning. So young children learn through play. Their learning should be based on active play and interaction. Guided play may build skills and relationships with both peers and teachers. Parents and primary caregivers of very young children should be supported to understand and apply, first, the importance of being responsive and sensitive to the needs of the children. Second, ways to care for younger children, and play methods that actively engage children in the learning process and promote their development. So, with this learning process, now all students are involved in activities that encourage them to develop a deeper understanding of the content by or through working with and reflecting upon the material being presented. Thus, engaging students in the learning process increases their attention and focus and motivates them to engage in higher level critical thinking.
Appropriate teaching method. Education in emergencies through the recovery should teachers in a formal education setting an opportunity for positive change. Which teaching methods may be be, be changed to be adaptable and acceptable to the context and should address the rights, needs, age, disabilities, and capacities of learnings. So what is appropriate teaching methods all about? Now, it is all about the teacher's overall criteria when attempting to build or implement a teaching method that befitting the students. For example, Miss Siton discovers from her observation within the classroom that many of her students lacked of motivation to involve themselves in her class. With that, Miss Siton decides to approach the students with a carrot and stick method. So, what is carrot stick method? Carrot and stick method, it is a motivational strategy that involves offering a reward and a punishment. It was used not to harm the students but push them to become a better and a good student. For example, naka sa isa ka classroom si Miss Siton. So, in order nga makabasa iyang student si Miss Carcalias is mana siya nga. So students, kung kinsa di makabasa karon or dili makasabot sa ako ang lesson, magpabilin. So ang estudyante is makaingon siya nga hala dapat jud ko mag-cooperate para ma-involve ani nga discussion para dili ko mabilin sa akong mga classmates. So muna siya ang appropriate teaching methods. Next.
Okay, standard 4, assessment of learning outcomes. So these appropriate methods are used to evaluate and validate learning outcomes. So having this assessment of learning outcomes is important because it helps understand whether their courses and program are effective. It is also maka-provide og essential assurance para sa effective learning. So number 1 is the effective assessment and evaluation methods and measures. So these are the effective assessment and evaluate methods and measure na kinahanglan na introduce and kinahanglan i-consider. Next. So, relevance. Test and examination are appropriate to the learning context and the age of learners. Test and examination are appropriate gyud siya to understand effectively kailangan gyud na ang i-test, ang examination is especially sa age of students so that dili sila malibog sa gihatag na mga test sa ilaha. Just like for example sa grade 1, the test and examination should be relevant sa ilang understanding o sa ilang age. Kailangan nilang i-test is related sa topic na discuss ni teacher. So ikaduha is consistency. Evaluation methods are known and applied in a similar way that all occasion by all teachers. So it should be the way of evaluating is already known or familiar na pareho sa paraan so that ang student dili kaayong maglisod especially in elementary grade. So in this way can use to indicate the student how successfully they have mastered in that specific topic. 3 is the opportunity. Absent learners are offered another chance for assessment. In opportunity, katong mga student na wala atong mga date na assessment are given the chance for assessment. Just like for example, if you'll be having a final exam, then one of the student got sick. In that reason, makahatag yun kag opportunity sa imong student to give a chance. Timing. Assessment occurs during and at the end of instruction. So ang timing is nahitabo ang assessment during and the end of instruction. So happens in timing. So sa kanina way, mas fresh pa sa learners ang discussion ni teacher. Because sa pag-end sa instruction, mausap ang paghatag og assessment. I believe na kanina way is more effectively kay wala pa dayon nakalimtan sa mga student ang mga possible answers sa ilahang assessment. Frequency. This may be affected by emergency. So kanina, frequency is may be affected by emergency. If we can say emergency, there is an abrupt or pinadali-dali na any reason, either good or bad. So in frequency, possible gyud na pinadali-dali ang assessment ang mahitabo due to some reason. Safe and appropriate setting. Formal assessment are conducted in a safe place by education personnel. Having this formal assessment conducted in a safe place is really important, especially in elementary grade. We should be considered a place so that the student will have a safe and also having kanang nindot o hapsay na place is makakreate og kanang focus and mindful answering sa mga test na ginhatag sa ilaha. So sa kanina way is very effectively labi na sa mga student. Transparency. Assessment results are shared and discussed. External examiners are available for key stages of assessment where possible and appropriate. The teacher should be also transparent. We all know na if naay mahitabo na formal assessment just like exam, excited gud sila makita ang result, especially if nag-study silag maayo or pansin gud nila na dako ilahang score. Pero wa ta nag-study di gud ta ganahan magtan-aw, so especially sa mga bata, excited sila to know the result of the exam. In the case pod sa mga student na dili pa kayo makuan ilang mga scores sa ilang parent, ay di kayo nila makuha nilang score so ilang parent ang pahibalon sa mga kinder. just like the kinder. Ang result pod is the way para ma-measure sa teacher kung nakatuon ba sila maayo or wala. Accommodation of learners with disabilities. Longer time is allocated and skills and understanding are demonstrated through appropriate alternative means. So in this case po, labi na sa mga student na naay disabilities, it should spend more time na ipasabot sa ila ang mga pagabuhaton na assessment. Need yun na mag-create og effective way para sa ilahan na mas dali nila masabtan. Kaya we can't deny the fact na lisod sila pasabton sa as a teacher to give them assessment. So spend more time and pasabton sila in easy way.
Okay, number two, assessment result. In formal education programs, assessment is conducted so that learners' achievements and examination result can be recognized by the education authorities. For refugees, effort should be made to obtain recognition by the education authorities in the country or area of origin. Assessment is the systematic basis for making inferences about the learning and development of student. Hence, assessment results are a log of marks or grades earned by the student for a specific assessment. Assessment result provides qualitative information that helps faculty determine how they might improve course or programs through changes in curriculum, teaching, methodologies, course materials, or other areas. And when interpreting assessment result, it is useful to set performance standard that specifies that the acceptable level of student work or response. For example, external standards are student meeting standards set by someone else. Local standards are student meeting our own standards. Value added benchmark, are our students improving? Internal peer benchmark, how do our students compare to others within Ball State? That's all.
Assessment and evaluation. Assessment code of ethics. Assessment and evaluation should be developed and implemented according to a code of ethics. This means they should be fair, reliable, and conducted in a way that does not increase fear, cause distress. Learners should not be harassed in return for good marks or promotion within a school or
In this way, ang assessment and evaluation should be developed. So, kailangan ang assessment and evaluation kay implemented jud sa school para ma-measure sa teacher ang student kung asa sila weak or asa sila mas daghan na ibalo. So, this means should be fair. So, fair, kailangan siya fair, reliable, and conducted. So, sa para dili siya mag-cause of distress. Learners should be not harassed. So, ang learners, dili dapat siya magbuhat og dili maayo para hatag sa iya og good marks o promotion within a school or program.
content of assessments. The process used should be directly linked to the materials that have been taught. Learners' objectives and benchmarks should be identified from the curriculum. When possible, assessment should be modified to reflect materials taught rather than a standard curriculum, thereby reflecting actual learning rather than gaps in teaching.
Relevance. In education, the term relevance typically refers to learning experiences or activities that are either directly applicable to the personal aspiration, interests, or cultural experiences of students, personal relevance, or that are connected in some way to real-world issues, problems, and context. Life relevance. Advocates argue that personal relevance, when effectively incorporated into instruction, can increase a student motivation to learn, engagement in what is being taught, and even knowledge retention and recall.
Another example, in relevance, uh, the teachers should not only base in the curriculum, so dapat maging interconnected siya sa students na unsa interest nila, labi na sa tua na 21st century na teacher. So maging kuan gid ta, maging flexible ta over complicity. So dapat maging kuan gid ta, maging connected ta sa tong students to know our students, o hagapit sila maging interest sa tong class so that they should be always on track.